This is lesson 3, drawing on toned paper. Now, this actually is much simpler than lesson 2 because you're just dealing with 2 tones that are in your hand and the third tone is on the paper. That is your starting point, a paper that isn't white but is able to receive a dark and a light line and for them to be visible. So, here you can see in this drawing that's mounted into a white album that the paper is not grey but it's a bluish colour, but it is importantly a mid-tone. Ruskin has drawn onto that paper with white chalk and graphite. The graphite producing a dark line and the white chalk the highlights. Now what Ruskin is doing here is trying to copy the way light falls onto an object. The object in this case is a piece of carving, a detail from an architectural piece of ornament, and what he's looking at is where light falls onto this leaf-like form, producing shadows on one side and light on the other. So it's a very, very simple process. It's a way of making images that has been around since very, very early Roman decoration. You see it in Renaissance drawing, and the idea of drawing onto tonal paper is very strong throughout the history of representational drawing. So what we're going to do is make a very simple drawing onto toned paper using a light and a dark pencil. The light pencil to record the light side of the object, the dark to record the darker, more shadowed side of the object, and leaving the grey paper to look after the middle tones between. So it's very simple, very straightforward, and shouldn't take you very long. Now, having chosen to use the grey and the white sheet of paper for the demonstration, just remind you how these lines work on here, is that here all 3 are visible, and here 2 are very visible, look very similar, and 1 is rather invisible. Now, if we just make a very simple drawing of a leaf, assuming the light is coming from this direction, I'm going to give one edge like that, and then the other edge in darkness. Now, if we do the same exercise on the white paper, I think what you can see is that the black line survives perfectly well on both. The white line sort of suffers on this side. It's really, in fact, it reads as a dark against our white paper, and this one we're reading as a light. Now, to make that white line more visible, we could shade all that in, and try and very carefully leave a white edge here. But as you can see, this would take an enormous amount of work and become a substantially different kind of drawing from the elegant and quite simple way of realizing images onto a mid-tone. Now, if one wanted to make this look even more three-dimensional, we could put a light shadow behind it here. And so it stands up even further. And this is the basis of tonal drawing on a grey ground.